What is the African dream? I want to talk about what is my African dream. And it starts with a story. As a young person, at age 2, my parents moved back to the village, and I lived in the village with my family until I was 13. And then I moved back to the city for secondary school. And if you live in a village, and you're from the city, there is that tendency that you're better off than everybody else in the village. That was years ago, not now, not now. The village is way more like a city now compared to the 200 people town little quarter that it used to be. So the entire village was bigger, but the quarter with which I lived in was about 200 people. We knew everybody. Everybody knew everybody. If there was a stranger in town, we would know there's a stranger in town. And there was a new kid in town, we would be like, what family are you visiting? So, who are you? Um, the one thing I learned very early on was that my mom taught us to go to the neighbors and ask for things. Even though we could have just gone to my dad and say, hey, we need matches or we need salt. She would say, hey, go to the neighbor and ask them if they can borrow us a little bit of salt or give us a little bit of salt, if they can borrow us matches. Even though you didn't give it back, but they used the word borrow. So it instilled in me that knowledge that everybody was equal, and that even though we seemed a little bit well to do, we were equal to the people in the village, and we could ask from the people in the village, they could ask from us. So she didn't want it to be like they were the only ones asking us for things. She wanted us to know that we could also ask them for things. And it helped me to have this mindset of equality right off the bat. And as I grew up, I started to say to myself, I would like to help other people. Like if a child wasn't going to school and I went to school and I came back during the holidays, I would try to have an evening classes so that I can teach the ones that didn't go to school, especially those who were my friends. I would help them to be able to learn. Not a lot of them, but every now and then one or two, I would try to help them to learn so that we can all read together, so that we can all have the skills together. And as I even grew older, I had the passion to be able to help everybody to have almost the same status. So I remember being asked, like, if you had money, what would you do? If you had money and money was never a problem, what would you do? I said, I would make everybody in the village to have the same kind of houses, the same kind of everything, just so that nobody feels like they're above anybody. So nobody feels like they're better than anybody. So we're all equal. That was my idea as a child. Some will call it socialist or maybe even a little bit of communist ideas. But that was not where I was coming from. I was just coming from a communal place where I didn't want my neighbor to be struggling. I didn't want my friends to be struggling. I wanted them to have the things that they need in life. I'm not saying that they would have exactly what I had or that I will have exactly what they have, but I wanted them to be well to do. I wanted them to be independent. I wanted them not to have to beg. I wanted them to have the things that they need. And that is one of the reasons why early on I started a nonprofit. I started a nonprofit because I knew I couldn't do the work by myself. So I started gathering people to help me do the work. I did that until I was 25 when I left the country. I had that heart. I had that heart for Africa. That was my dream for Africa. That was my dream for Cameroon. That was my dream for my village. And even when I was envisioning or visualizing or creating a vision for what I would do, it was always, I want my village to be better. I want my quarter to be better. I want my friends to be better. I want my family to be better. I want my neighbors to be better. I want my town to be better. I wanted Cameroon to be better. I wanted Africa to be better, right? And then I wanted all people of the world that are struggling to be better. That was always my dream as a child. Um, from from forever. And to think that even after I came to the US, I still kept that dream. I will work, and 10% of my funding, of my income, no matter how small, would go back to host events for children in Africa or in Cameroon, in my village in particular. Um, and I just kept that work. I kept the work. I wish I had the large scale to do something big. I wish I had the large scale, the funding to be able to go back to Africa and really just build the African youth, or create a strategy for African youth so that they don't ever have to leave their continent. They don't ever have to leave their countries unless they want to go visit, not because they are desperate, not because they are destitute, not because they have nothing to eat, not because they don't have opportunity, not because they were stuck like I was stuck. That is my dream for Africa. That is my African dream, for the African youth not to go through what I went through, not to be dying in the desert, not to be dying in the Sahara, not to be dying on the border trying to get to America, not to be dying trying to get to Europe, to be able to survive and thrive in their local environment. That's my dream for Africa. That's my dream for Africa. That's my African dream. That is my African dream. I wish Plant a Seed could do that. My nonprofit is called Plant a Seed. Just Plant a Seed, nothing else. But if you're looking for it online, it's Plant a Seed Africa. So plantaseedafrica.org. That is my dream for Africa. That the young people will never have to leave their hometowns in search of a better life somewhere else, because they have it right where they are. Can somebody help me realize this dream? How can I realize this dream? I keep working. I keep praying. I keep searching. I keep researching. I keep testing different things. I keep trying and starting businesses and failing. I am trying so hard to see this dream of mine for Africa to be realized. Why taking care of myself? Some days I just need to survive. Like they say, it's not easy because you can become the poor that you're trying to help. Not because African is poor. We have so many riches. I wish there was a way to leverage those so that we are not considered the poor of the world, even though we have so many rich things on our side. I keep trying. I'll keep working while trying to take care of myself too. That's my dream for Africa.